Hey everybody, this is James, and today we'll be having a look at perhaps the most ubiquitous pocket pistol available today, the Ruger LCP in 380 ACP. This is the original current production model. I've been meaning to get this out on video for quite some time now, and you may have seen some of my ongoing 380 Blisk gel tests, but I've never got footage of the gun that I was truly happy with. Well, now the wait is over. After a year of carry and over 1,000 rounds downrange, I'm ready to lay out my impressions. The Ruger LCP has been out for quite a while now, and it represents quite a bargain for the quality. But we are really looking at a bare-bones pocket pistol. The gun comes with one 6-shot magazine, fully loaded. It comes in at just over 12 ounces. That is a good bit lighter than even most pocket guns available today. Operationally, it's a hammer-fired handgun. You can see the hammer sticking out of the back of the slot in the rear. Running the slide back doesn't completely cock the hammer and release it though. It takes a long but not overly heavy pull of the trigger to finish cocking and then to actually fire the gun. This makes up for the lack of a manual safety. Realistically, the only controls that you will have on this gun is a somewhat recessed magazine release and a slide stop. The slide stop doesn't lock the slide back on the last shot, and you have to actually pull back the slide and lock the slide to the rear. This is mostly a range safety feature to show that you have an empty gun. The gun wears a 2.75-inch barrel, and it comes with fixed iron sights. The sights are just milled right into the top of the slide, typical for a pocket pistol. Because of its small size, small grip, and the longer double-action style of trigger, the LCP can be challenging to shoot well right out of the gate, especially for a new shooter. The sights can be hard to pick up at first when you're drawing and shooting quickly, but after a while you'll get used to it. At the very least, you can't knock the sights out of alignment since they're fixed. After a box or two, it was easy for me to put rounds on target quickly at about 10 yards. Further out at about 25 yards, I had to take more of my time to work on my trigger control to make sure that the little gun wasn't moving around when I pressed the trigger. But you would be surprised how well you can shoot these little guns with enough time and effort. In terms of actual recoil, the LCP isn't half bad. We're touching off a relatively powerful round out of a little bitty gun, but the inclusion of a pinky extension on the magazines that come with the gun gave me a bit more to hang on to, but for carry I used the flat base plate, which leaves my pinky and my other finger dangling, and that can make the gun a little bit jumpier, but the kickback isn't actually painful. With these little guns, especially if they're going to live in a pocket holster, it's important to keep them clean. Taking down the LCP isn't necessarily tactical, but it is straightforward. Draw the slide fractionally to the rear, and rest the takedown pin out from its slot with a paper clip or some sort of object like the end of a ballpoint pen. With that done, you can take the slide right off and remove the guts. One thing to note is that the slide is actually made out of carbon steel, so you want to oil that when you're doing your usual cleaning to keep any rust at bay. Like I said before, I've had over 1,000 rounds through my LCP, and to be fair, the gun has been very reliable, feeding all types of ball and hollow point ammunition. But there were a few quirks. First, you have to definitely want to load the LCP with some vigor. I found when I initially got the pistol, I was kind of babying it. I had a habit of running the slide to the rear and then riding it forward to chamber around, and that can induce a malfunction. This is something that can happen with any semi-auto, but you really would want to pull back that slide and just let it go. This isn't the gun's fault, but it's the operator's fault. In terms of actual malfunctions though, when actually firing the pistol, the only issues I had were with steel-cased ammunition. After several failures to fire with some cheap tall ammunition, I kept getting a click but no bang, hard primers, so I threw that stuff out and resumed using brass-cased ammunition. I also investigated some old reports of the original LCP dropping its magazine with the magazine button being depressed when either being carried or when shooting. This can happen with little bitty guns like this. Ruger did alleviate the problem early on, but I decided to test it out anyway. I couldn't get the magazine to drop while shooting, but I found with very tight pants, you can do it. But with normal fitting pants or slacks, it just won't happen. But with that said, why would I want the standard LCP, the standard boring LCP, over the new improved model that's out now, the LCP2? They really wanted to improve this gun, even though it's been quite a seller for Ruger. The 2 has higher profile sights and a lighter trigger over the standard model for a little more money. I ultimately went with this one because I didn't feel the need for those types of improvements, especially with the trigger. The heavier trigger pull on the original definitely requires some deliberate action to pull, and in my mind, in a pocket holster, it is a little bit safer. It takes less effort to shoot the LCP2, and it means less effort to accidentally shoot it if something were to go wrong. In short, I think the LCP is a little bit safer, and that might be something for some people. The LCP is a safe and easy to understand pistol, but I would hesitate to recommend it as a carry gun for a new shooter. This isn't much of a gun to hold on to, and these little 380s can be very jumpy without some practice behind them. So if you're going to have one of these, make sure you get some practice, otherwise you might be disappointed. But otherwise, the LCP weighs virtually nothing, and of course that's one of the attributes of having it on you. And though it makes it harder to shoot, it means it's always on you. It's an always gun. There isn't a good excuse to not go out without something like an LCP if you wish to carry a pistol. It's especially useful if you work in an environment like retail, where no one can know you're carrying, a non-permissive environment, so to speak. And if you're an active type, the LCP doesn't weigh down sweatpants if you're going to go for a walk. But if you're going to be more strenuous than that, I'd recommend a good belly band, and the gun does not get in the way at all if you're doing some exercising. But other than that, it's a good always gun, like I've said before. And there are definitely bigger and better options out there, but as a gun you can consistently carry every day, the LCP is still one of the best you can get. Let me know what you think.